Good day, my dear students. For today, I decided to have a recorded lecture video because our lesson for today is quite long and it requires time for us to finish this one. We will be moving now to Module 5 and the content of it is on geological hazards. Under geological, we have the earthquake, we have volcano, we have landslide, we also have sinkholes and more. So that's the reason that we'll be having our recorded lecture video. For the previous topic that we had, we were able to talk on biological hazards, the type of biological disasters. Also, we were able to talk on hydrometeorological hazards and on fire hazard. Hopefully, you still remember the elements under fire hazards and some precautionary measures and proper procedures in addressing a fire incident. Under this module, we will be talking about earthquake, faults, seismic waves, and earthquake hazards also. For this time, we will be moving to the first hazard under geological, and we have here earthquake. What is an earthquake? We'll be defining what is an earthquake. And an earthquake is a vibrable shaking to violent trembling of the ground produced by a sudden displacement of rock or sudden materials below the Earth's surface. Also, there are two types of earthquake. First is the tectonic. This one is generated by the sudden displacement along faults in the solid and rigid layer of the Earth. So, it is an earthquake caused by tectonic movement. And the second one is volcanic. Earthquakes induced by rising lava or magma beneath active volcanoes. Therefore, volcanic earthquake are earthquake caused by volcanic eruption. So here we can see fault. Earthquake is caused by the fault that is located on in between plate tectonics. That's why when they move, earthquake will happen. So the main cause for earthquake is because of our fault lines. What is a fault? A fault refers to a fracture, fissure, or a zone of weakness where movement or displacement has occurred or may occur again. And we can say that our fault is active if they had moved within the last 10 years. Here in this slide, we can see the different types of fault. The first one is the normal fault. And here, as you can see, the two blocks of the crust pull apart and they are trying to stretch the crust into a valley. That's the reason that we can see places higher than the other places. And also we have here number 2, the reverse fault. One plate here, slide on plate of the crust on top of another. So this type of fault is commonly found in collision zones where tectonic plates pushed up mountain ranges. Just like what you can see, one example of this is Himalayas and also the Rocky Mountains. It's trying to pull up some crust blocks upward. And the last one is the strike slip fault. You can see here the movement indicates that the rocks here are sliding past each other horizontally with little or no vertical movement. Here in this slide, we can see seismic wave. How is it that this is related to earthquake? When earthquake occur, whether that's plate tectonic or volcanic, it can generate seismic waves. And to define seismic wave, these are the waves of energy caused by the sudden breaking of rock within the earth or an explosion. So they're caused by plate tectonic or volcanic eruption. And the tool that is used to measure the waves is called a seismograph. Let's talk about the different types of seismic wave. You can see here it is categorized into two. The first one is the body wave, and body wave is categorized into P waves and then the S wave. And also we have here the surface wave, and it is also categorized into love waves and then the Rayleigh waves. Let's talk about the two. Here in this illustration, you can see here four pictures that illustrates the two different kinds of seismic wave. The first two on the left is the P wave and then the S wave. For the P and then the S wave, they are categorized under body waves. And when we say body wave, they are traveling to the interior of the earth. They are the shaking that we experience inside, or yes, in the interior of the earth. For the P wave, you can see here, this is the fastest kind of seismic wave, and consequently the first to arrive at a seismic station. So this is the first wave that a seismogram or whatever tool can detect. And we have here the S wave. This one is the secondary wave, the second wave that we feel if there is an earthquake, and it can move rock particles up and down or side to side. As you can see on the movement of it, it has an S wave. And the two pictures on the right are the love wave and then the Rayleigh wave, which are categorized under the surface wave. So for the surface wave, they are traveling only through the crust. So it's on the surface of the earth already, and they are the waves that has lower frequency than the body waves, and they are usually distinguished on a seismogram. So ito yung nababasa ng mga seismogram tools natin. They arrive after the body waves, and it is the surface wave that are almost entirely responsible for the damage and destruction associated with earthquakes. Ito yung nararamdaman natin because they are the earthquake or the waves that we experience on the crust of the earth. So first, let's talk about love wave that you can see here on the first. Here, love wave. You can see the movement here. This is the fastest surface wave, and it moves the ground from side to side. It is also produced horizontally, or its motion is moving horizontally. And it is called love wave is because it is named after A.E.H. Love, which is a British mathematician who worked on this kind of model in 1911. Now let's move on to Rayleigh wave. We can see here on the lower part of this, on the right corner. This Rayleigh wave also is named after Lord Rayleigh, who predicted this existence of seismic wave in 1885. The movement of this, as you can see, is it rolls along the ground, causing the ground to move up and down and side to side in the same direction. Most of the shaking we felt if an earthquake happened is because of this type of wave. So that's how we distinguish and categorize or describe the movement of these different types of the seismic. Let's move on to the different hazards associated with earthquakes. So the first hazard here is ground shaking, and this refers to a disruptive up and down sideways movement or motion experienced during an earthquake. Definitely the ground is shaking, just like what our Lolo and Lola experienced in 1990, because we were not yet born this time, wherein a lot of buildings collapsed here in our locality, one of which is the Hyatt Hotel here in Baguio. This happened on July 16, 1990, wherein the entire Luzon experienced a widely disruptive hazard or earthquake hazard. Example, the before structure of the Hyatt Hotel and then the after structure of it. So you can see here before, it is a dome-shaped Hyatt Hotel. So ito yung pinakamagandang hotel in Baguio way back then, one of the most beautiful. And after the earthquake, you can see that there is a structural failure that you can see here. Nag-collapse yung malaking hotel. So that's just one example of the hazards that we can experience underground shaking. The second one is the ground rupture. So here, there will be cracks, and the ground rupture is a displacement on the ground due to movement of fault. Meaning to say, because of earthquake, cracks, maybe the small or big cracks, will happen. Here are some examples of ground rupture. Here on the first picture, you can see that there is a crack that displaced or that divide the crust. And here on the second one actually is a picture in China way back 2008. So what happened here, the two buildings that you can see in this photo is actually a high school building, and then it was built along a fault line. When the two plates move, then you can see that ruptured is present. Right. Another one is liquefaction. Number three is liquefaction. This one is the process that transforms the behavior of a body of sediments from that of a solid to that of a liquid when subjected to extremely intense shaking. So because of earthquake, liquefaction happened. There are three factors actually that is required for liquefaction to happen. First is the loose granular sediment. Maybe in that place it's just made of clay. Saturation also of sediment by groundwater, meaning to say in that place it is saturated by water, and then because of strong shaking, liquefaction happens. Let's talk about the types of liquefaction. First is the flow failure. Here, this is considered as the most dangerous type of ground failure because it can damage all the things that are on its path. The second one is the lateral spread. Here, the blocks or the broken pieces of the flat or very gentle ground above a liquefied zone move laterally. And for letter C, ground oscillation, these are located on flat or nearly flat slopes, and the ground is unable to spread. Instead, it will oscillate like a wave. For letter D, the loss of bearing strength. This one, it results in tilting of houses and floating of buoyant structure that are anchored on the liquefied zone. And the last type is the settlement kind of liquefaction. Here, it's possible that the vertical readjustment or settlement within the liquefied zone will be created, such as fountains of water or maybe sediments coming from the pressurized liquefied zones. So these are just types of the liquefaction. Moving on, we have the earthquake-induced landslide. What are this one? These are the failures in steep or hilly slopes triggered by an earthquake. So these are landslide caused by earthquake. Moving on, we have another hazard under earthquake are the water disturbances. It is it has two. There are two forms under water disturbances. First is the tsunami, and this one is generated by disturbances associated with earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and landslides occurring below or near the ocean floor. So it can be from local tsunamis, it's just from our locality, or from far field or distant tsunamis coming from other places. And also another one is the storm surge. These are the wind-generated waves on the surface of the sea during typhoon. Moving on, we will be talking on the precautionary measures on earthquake and tsunami. In your module, both earthquake and tsunami precautionary measures were discussed, but here we will just be talking on the precautionary measures for earthquake. Here are the things that we must do before an earthquake will happen. Of course, we must do planning. We must know the earthquake hazards in our area. Of course, we must be aware of the things around us. Next, we must follow structural design and engineering practices when constructing a house or a building. Dapat yung bahay natin, or if you're living in a hotel, meron dapat yan exit, may fire exit, and hindi lang iisa yung pasukan ng building. Also, evaluate structural soundness of the buildings and houses, and strengthen or renovate if necessary. We must check our house. If you will notice that our house posts are already leaning or it's not that strong enough, then we must do necessary revision and renovation. Number two, before an earthquake is we must prepare our homes, our workplace, or school. So wherever you are located right now, we must prepare before an earthquake will happen. By how? By strapping or bolting heavy furnitures, cabinets to the walls. So when you put their heavy furniture, you must make sure that it will not topple or it will not fall down, stumble when an earthquake with the magnitude of number 1 will happen. Check the stability of hanging objects like ceiling fans and chandeliers as well sa mga mayayaman kung meron kayo yan. Alright. So you must check them if they're sturdy enough and can withstand the shaking. And also breakable items harmful chemicals and flammable materials should be stored properly in the lowermost secured shelves. Most of the time, we put it on top just for the young ones not to reach them. However, it's not. It must be on the lower and secured shelves of our cabinets. Here before, familiarize yourself with the exit routes. You must know where to go if a fire happened in your locality or in your building. And number 4, know where fire extinguishers, the first aid kits, alarms, and the communication facilities are located, and learn how to use them beforehand. Do you know how to use your fire extinguishers? Do you know the purpose of those first aid kits? Do you know how to use the telephone? Or baka naman hindi. Right? So we must be properly aware and informed on the things to do before an earthquake. Also, we have here conduct and participate in regular earthquake drills. That's the reason that in our school we do have earthquake drills, fire drills, and so far we have earthquake and fire. But then, unfortunately, we're not able to practice because of our setup as of. How about what are the things that we must do during an earthquake? First, when you're inside a structurally sound building or home, stay there. So if the quake is not yet intense and starting, then it's fine for you to move out. However, if it's already intense, please do stay inside the building. Just stay there. And do number 2, do the duck cover and hold. So how to do that? Of course, you must find a place that wherein you can keep yourself secure. So if possible, quickly open the door for exit. Of course, if the shaking is not yet intense. However, as mentioned, if it's already intense, then duck under a sturdy desk or table and hold onto it, or protect your head with your arms. So you must protect the delicate part of your body. Stay away from glass windows, shelves, and other heavy objects as well. And beware of falling objects. Be alert and keep your eyes open, because a lot of things may topple on you. That's the reason that do not panic and stay focused. So you can see here on the picture here on the left, letter A here is to duck under the table. Letter B is, you can see the man, he is covering his head. And letter C, you can see that he is holding where? On the one foot of the table. Make sure that the table can protect yourself, right? So those are just some things that we can do during an earthquake. We also have here number 3, if you're outside, move to an open area. Make sure that you must stay away from trees, the power lines, the posts, and the concrete structures that may topple on you. Also, move away from steep slopes which may be affected by landslides. And if you are near the shore and feel an earthquake, especially if it's too strong, move quickly to higher grounds because tsunamis might occur. And if you're not aware on that, you might be a victim. Also, for number 4, if you're in a moving vehicle, stop and get out. Do not attempt to cross bridges, overpasses, or fly over which may have been damaged. Because if the shaking is really intense, it's possible that if you're on a bridge, then it may crack and you might fall down. Right now, how about the things that we can do after an earthquake? First, you can prepare for aftershocks. Expect for aftershocks. Once the shaking stops, take the fastest and safest way out of the building because an aftershock may happen. And after the earthquake also, do not use elevators because they might be damaged. Electrical damage may happen. Enter damaged buildings. Huwag maging superhero unless you know the things to do. Use telephone unless necessary. You can use your phone, but the telephones, they are using sockets, so do not panic as well. So stay relaxed and know things that can help you to recover. Also, check the following. You must check yourself and other for injuries, especially your head. If you are nervous, you don't feel that you're already hurt or you're bleeding, so you don't feel that. That's why you need to check yourself. your family as well. Water and electrical lines for damages, you must check them because before going back to your house, if it's not damaged, then you must check those things responsibly. For spills of chemical, toxic, and flammable materials as well, especially if you have young ones, and the control fires which may spread. If there are fires due to electrical circuit, then you must check on them first. Also, for number 4, if you need to evacuate your residence, leave a message stating where you are going and bring your emergency supply kit. If you leave your house, make sure that you will leave a note on the door stating that you evacuated. It's because some of the rescuers may think that you're still inside and they might be entering your house, right? So to save them also from any harm, please do leave any note. And keep updated on disaster prevention instructions from battery operated radios. It's because possible that after an earthquake, there will be a power outage. That's the reason that battery operated items or yes, tools are necessary in order for you to survive. Right. And many now, thank you so much for listening. The second video will be created also because this is too long. So, thank you very much for listening. I hope you learned something.